Voila! Here we are. Amazing. We're alive. It's Wednesday night. Hi, James. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, John.
Good.
Absolutely fantastic.
Good. That's good to hear. So, welcome, everybody. It's another Wednesday night, CAV HQ. I am your host with CAVBoss and James. Hey,
Sickly
hey, the hobby habit. Hello, how are you?
hobby. Tiger eight. Good to see you.
So, very productive day. We will actually start shipping badgers on Friday. So there'll be quite a few going out. We had a good day of production, and provided that everything keeps going as planned, we're going to start rolling badgers out on Friday, and we are shipping them out in the order that they were ordered. So that's how they're going out. So whoever put in order number one gets the first one.
Well, well,
Yeah.
well. That'll be exciting.
Yes. So I right now, yeah, I am anticipating about 2 weeks for everybody to get their badgers. Now that is the people that ordered during the show and stuff will not be waiting 2 weeks. That's because
Right.
they've just continually been coming in ever since. So the people that are ordered last week into last week or in first of this week are going to be about 2 weeks out. So
Okay.
and then we will at some point get caught up, and once the new laser comes in, and that's all based on current production. If the new laser shows up like it's supposed to and we get up and running, everything will go a lot quicker.
Hmm.
So because the new laser will almost cut a single badger kit by itself in one pass. So
So, are you putting multiple of those boards in there at one time?
yes.
How are you
Yeah.
doing? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Interesting.
it's we fill it up as much as we can, but and the one
Uh-huh.
that we've got's a pretty good sized one, but it
Yeah, oh, yeah.
still is the next one's bigger. So
Cool.
the
I'm
the
excited to see
next
it.
one's wider than I am tall. So
What?
yeah,
Holy guacamole.
it's a big one. So
Wow.
14. The freight company called me about it this morning. It's 1,000. Well, there's two. It's coming on two pallets, but and one of them is crated up, and it's 1,400 pounds.
Good grief.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to move around.
Tiger Wraith. So he's asked if I got the first 10 badgers. The honest truth is I was busy at the convention. I didn't order until I got home, so I'm way at the end of the list. 10 might be the right number, but I'm still way at the end of the list.
Yeah, I think we had 10 ordered the very first day of the show. So
Man, I can only imagine.
yeah,
Gosh, I'm excited. I in my head I've got it all planned out. I'm painting it red. It's gonna go. I'm working on a rock force to go with it. I'm just I thought after CavCon I was going to be a little, ready for a change of pace. Nope, Cav, let's go. Come on, rock. I want to paint some rock.
well, luckily I'm pulling one tomorrow, and I'm gonna start doing the assembly guide with it, and and then the one that I've got here that's already put together, I've got to do some photography with it before I start painting it, and then I'm gonna start painting it. So
That going to become your Tuesday project is painting the badger,
I,
assembling the badger.
I not the assembly part of it, because that'll actually what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sit down and record it, and then
Mm-hmm.
also take pictures as I go. So the actual assembly guide will be a PDF that you'll download that will have pictures to show you the
Sweet,
order that it goes into. And then I'll edit the video to shorten it down, and so you can go look at that in case you have a problem. So
nice. I'm really yeah, yeah, Tiger with that. I mean, the original laser cutter was fantastic. It just
yeah,
Apparently
they're
it got
just big kits.
jinxed.
Yeah, they're just big kits. So
So repairing it wasn't too difficult.
no, no, like I said, once the because like I said, there are no troubleshooting guides, there are no directions, there's no
Mhm.
you're just going. And I mean, basically, I had to sit down with a ohm meter, start, and figure out where, if voltage is going here to here to here, and when it's not coming anywhere, then that's probably where the problem is. And the power supply had power going in, but nothing was coming out. So there was something in there that it didn't like. The other thing is too, and what makes it a little dicey is the thing is a high voltage power supply. So it's got 110 going in and 40,000 coming out. Um, so you want to make sure that that the capacitors are discharged when you're messing with some of that. So it wouldn't be good. But
Seriously, that's capacitors are just they're I don't like messing with things with capacitors.
yeah,
Leave them alone.
yeah. So it's just a matter of it's just tight space to get into, but get in there and unhook it and get the old one out. And the the hardest part is that the wire runs directly to the laser that comes out, so you have to it's set up a little different so it can handle the high voltage. But once you get that all changed out, the other one went right in, and I was firmly prepared when I pushed the button that it was not going to work. I was getting myself ready so that I didn't pick that damn thing up and throw it out the back door of the building. So I had to get my head in the right place. Okay, you know how this goes. You know how it works, Walker. It's not going to go on the first try. But it did. I hit the button and it popped right off. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I'm living good this week.
You were able to find a replacement power supply stateside?
No.
Okay. So
I had to.
takes a lot of shipping.
Well, yes and no. It's extremely expensive to ship here from China. It is not so expensive to ship from China to here in certain instances. The Chinese just must have worked a much better deal with some of them. But no, there's a company over there, Cloud Ray, that makes a higher end power supply that goes on this board. And so I ordered it through them, but they were like 2 or 3 weeks to get it here. So I emailed them and I said, listen, is it possible if I send a DHL guy over there, could you just hand him the power supply? And they said yes. So I got a hold of DHL. DHL went over there and picked it up, and 3 days later, here it was. Cost me an extra $80.
It's amazing what you can do with just the right initiative.
Yeah, yeah. So it worked out. Tiger Wraith asked, John, for making your own bases, MDF or acrylic, would a CNC laser kit work? Maybe. Generally, most of the lasers that work on CNC are what they call a fiber laser. They are not as good for cutting. They are much better for engraving. And they are extremely slow. So they have them out there. There's 2 or 3 kits that you can buy to put on 3D printers and stuff like that. But I don't know. You might be able to make it work, to a degree, but anything it would be rough. So, but it's like everything else. I mean, as more people buy them and more people do them, lasers are coming down. So, but
Tiger Wraith, is your 3D printer up and running and chunking out models? Because I mean, probably should finish the one thing before you start another. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
You would be disappointed after seeing what your machine. Yes, you would be very disappointed. But you're better off with the 3D printer to make 3D bases. So that's where it's going to be much stronger to do that. So get some very terrained looking bases. So and that's something that we are looking at doing after we. Another thing was, you know, 3D files that people can have to put to do things. They'll be, you know, it's just like I put the 3D files up for the missile heads and stuff for this Badger. As we do other kits and things like that, there'll be parts that we put up that they'll just you can download it if you want that extra little piece to add to your deal. And even if you don't have access to 3D printers, I know we talked about this a little bit in the past. There are so many people out there that will 3D print for nothing for you. I mean, just get a hold of somebody and have them print. There is, to kind of get me over the hump with some of the swag bags and stuff for the pieces that went in there. I went over to Wichita, and there's actually 3 different ones. The one that I went to is on the campus there at Wichita State, but they have a maker space. And you can go in there and you pay a monthly deal. And I mean, literally, they had 30 or 40 3D printers all set up, ready to go. And I went in on a Tuesday, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I forget what day I went in there, 10 o'clock in the morning, and there was nobody using those printers. I mean, it was just ghost town in there. So, you know, if you have access to schools and bigger areas and stuff like that, just do a search for a maker space. And you can, like I said, go in there and use their printers. So.
Cool. It's good advice for when I want to print out those missile bits.
Yeah. Well, and there's there's guys on Etsy that'll do it for you. There's guys on Fiverr, you know, that you can get them done, and they're dirt cheap. So, I mean, I know that obviously we do a lot more things on a commercial basis or whatever, but if I, as a consumer, with knowing what I know now, I'd never have a 3D printer. I'd just send it off to somebody else and have them print it for me and send it to me. So
Stargrave is coming out in the very near future, and so I've been doing a little Googling to find some models that I might want to put in my Stargrave army.
Right.
My wife and
Right.
I are going to play a campaign, and just the explosion of companies that do boutique miniatures is insane.
Yes. I mean, there's a dozen Kickstarters a week that's all they are figures.
Yeah. Crazy. Just it's and that's why I'll never own a 3D printer. The people will they make stuff that I can buy. I don't need to learn how to do all that.
The biggest thing that I try to give everybody a warning, again, especially if they haven't dealt with a particular company or a company is new, I would say that 50% at least, if not 75% of the STLs out there are not good files. So be prepared. Yeah. What looks good on the screen does not mean that it will print. All right. They put so much detail on there that, you know, if you were going to print it out this tall, it would look great. If when you're printing it out this tall, it all just turns into a blob. And some printers can handle it, some can't. It's a lot of hard work. So be prepared, or they've got errors in them and stuff like that. And it's just, especially on the Kickstarter side of things, somebody sits down, figures out how to sculpt a little bit, does some sculpting, throws it out on Kickstarter, sends you the files, and they are tough to work out. I know that out of the majority of the Kickstarters that I've backed, that I got STL files, I probably have had to fix 70 or 80% of them. So you just need to look too. I mean, it's you'll get an eye. You'll know what'll work and what won't. Party Bear, good digital model equals good physical model equals good painted model. Yes and no. Again, like I said, what looks great on the screen doesn't necessarily mean that will print or that you will get that level of detail, especially if you are trying to use a weed whacker printer, contrary to what the YouTube videos try to convince everybody. You cannot get a real crisp looking model out of those type of things. I mean, you can get a decent model out of them that's all right for um, uh, um, tabletop, if you're trying to build an army or something. But I mean, resin printers are where you're going to get the really good looking stuff. Mm-hmm. So before you buy STL files, ask me. No, don't ask me. I've given you enough advice now. You know where to go. Party Bear does not equal. Okay, I'm sorry. Correct. Weed. I just call them weed whacker printers. I don't know. It's just a name that I started coming up with them. But those are FDM printers, and those are the printers that actually have. It looks like weed eater wire that it feeds through there, and it actually prints by going around and leaving a row of that stuff. So yeah, weed whacker is the FDM, and a resin printer is. There's two different kinds. There's an SLA and I forget what the other one is, but either one of them are good. The one is better than the other and tends to be higher end. I can't remember what the other one is, but most of your any cubic stuff like that are SLA printers, where they basically are using a laser to cure the resin. So
there's a YouTube channel, I believe it's called Goobertown Hobbies, where the guy that does it's a miniature painting thing. Okay. The guy that does it is a PhD chemist in his real job, and he does a video where he breaks down how all that resin printing stuff works, like in like doctoral detail. It's really fascinating if you ever want to really understand how resin printing works. Okay.
I know the best printer that I've ever had actually printed in wax. It was an early, and they're still out there. SolidScape is the company that makes it. And they started out, they were very directed towards the jewelry industry, as far as using wax for investment casting or whatever. So it's a very fine, very deal. But the cool thing about it, and this is where when resin can get to this, is it had two different kinds of wax to it, and that one wax melted at a lower temperature than the other one. So it used the lower temperature wax to build the support structure to build the other one. And then when it was done, you put it in basically mineral spirits, heated mineral spirits, and it would melt away the lower temp wax and leave the other one, the actual printed piece. So you didn't have any kind of there was nothing attached, nothing, and the surface was perfect, and like I said, but because it's wax, it makes it another step that you have to get it to get it castable, because a wax will not hold up for metal miniatures and stuff like that. So you'd have to send it somewhere, have an investment casting, and which is a whole nother level of stuff, which is how we started out. I mean, that's all the original CAVs were done that way. So, and we actually had everything cast in silver, because the metal, silver was a very hard metal, so you didn't get any kind of deformation when you were making that. Because anytime you're making metal miniatures, whether it's traditional sculpting or whatever like that, it's like making copies. A copy of a copy of a copy. Every time you make another copy, that the resolution, the overall look gets worse. So the trick is always, you want to get as few in there as possible, so that when you're ready to do that final mold, you're getting the cleanest figure you can get. So that was what was always, you had to watch out for that, because like you said, even with the traditional old style sculpting where they use the green stuff, the putty and stuff like that, is, they would take that first one, make a copy, and then use it to make copies, and then take those to make the final molds. So it's it was quite the deal. But the good thing with the wax printer is the resolution was so fine on it that even with that extra step in there, it's still made a very superior looking mini. So,
Hmm.
but to this day, as far as resolution and finish and everything, that was the best printer I've ever had. Of course, that was a $50,000 printer that I bought back in. I mean, this was just at the turn of as 3D printing was starting. I think the same printer now they sell for 19,000, so half over less than half of what the original one was. But they're high end and like I said, are designed towards the jewelry market.
Hmm.
Wax print then mold off of it. Yeah, well, you would wax print it and then do, if you're familiar with investment casting. If you're not, go look it up. It's a whole nother process there. But that's the reason why jewelers use wax when they sculpt everything, because investment casting is basically, it's almost like a ceramic that you mold around the wax, and it heats it up so that the wax melts out of the and leaves the cavity, and you shoot the hot metal in there and it burns out the wax. And when you get it off, it's very rough looking when you get it out. It almost kind of looks like if you've ever seen something out of a sand mold. But it's just a matter, you just polish it up and clean them up, and they look good. So, and that's what silver was real good for, is with it being a tougher metal, it was easier to clean up. So, all right.
So somewhere there are silver calves still around, right? I think I've heard this story before.
A lot of them we got remelted. We had a bunch of them for a long time, and when we were doing them, I think silver was $2 or $3 an ounce. Silver got back up to $20 or $30 an ounce at one point. All the masters went. A bunch of the masters went then. There are some of the silver masters got sold as extra levels in the very first Reaper Kickstarter. I think there was 4 or 5 of them that they ended up putting out there. That if you did $500, you got one of the silver masters or whatever. I've got 2. I've got a rhino and a cougar, the original rhino and cougar. I think Ed's got 2 or 3 of them still, but other than that, that's the only ones that I know of. So, but like I said, most of them went into the pot and got used for the next batch. So we would the jeweler would actually buy them back from us and give us a better price for to reuse. Because again, that's the other side of it, is when they use that, it's a one-shot deal. So it needs to be very clean, very set up strictly for that. So once it's been used, they have to send it and remelt it and clean it up and do whatever they do to get it back to where it's usable. So little did you know you were going to get a bunch of casting information tonight, huh?
All about the silver.
All about the silver. Yep.
So, you ready to talk about other things?
Sure, why not?
Come on, John. We need some.
We got
need
30.
CAV
We got
information.
35 minutes. We need to kill.
All right. So this is an extension of our pre-show conversation.
Oh God. No.
Come on now, John. The people want to know.
I am not going to the drag bar with you. No.
Come on, John.
All right.
I mean, it's you're the one that has the reserved table, not me. I thought we'd take advantage of it. Anyway, so last night on the stream, on the terrain stream, some people were asking questions about the various factional military intelligence agencies, and just some general questions about how active they were. You made the comment that they were very active. This is the CAV universe is in like a pre-war stage, right? It's like they're in Cold War, but it's heating up, sort of thing, I think.
Well,
and
yeah, I mean, there's some things underneath the edge. I don't know that it's necessarily a Cold War or whatever. I think though that there are some factions within factions that are
Hmm.
working towards different goals maybe than the overall of their race. Again, intelligence is kind of a hard thing with aliens and so forth, because it's very hard if you're an alien to walk out in the middle of a other race and not stick out.
Hmm.
So, but they have a little bit of it. I mean, they have, you get a lot of, it's like the Russians and the Americans, you have embassies in each other's place, and both of you know that some of that embassy staff are there together, intelligence or whatnot, either one way to, either to covert your own people or, things like that. So there's a lot of that more than, and then other stuff would be a lot more covert stuff, where you would send out like a special ops squad or something like that to do observation and stuff, being more secretive and whatnot about it. So, but it's the nature of whether they're getting ready to go to war or not. I mean, it's just like us and Israel, you know. I mean, we're supposed to be, as tight as they can be, and how many times has Americans gone down for spying for Israel,
Hmm.
So, everybody does it to everybody, even each other's friends. So, there's dozens of stories out there about, between the Americans and the British. There's the British, World War II, 60s and stuff. They ran covert ops in the United States I guess, to make sure we weren't lying to them or something. I don't know.
So just kind of imagine in the CAV universe, there's a ton of signal intelligence where the various factions are trying to attack the encryptions and the
Right.
transmissions of information between each other, because as you pointed out, it's very hard for a human to go to Adon and pretend to be an Adonese person, right? I
Right.
mean, any humans living in Adon are probably under careful watch by the Adonese military
Right.
intelligences.
Yeah, this is
Whereas,
not
like,
Star Trek where they go in and have a secret operation to make them look like whatever alien race they want them to look like. That probably
yeah,
doesn't really happen.
probably not. But I mean, factions have tons of communications going on, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just like tons of it, and there are powerful, advanced artificial intelligences, so the computer systems are significantly powerful. So I imagine that there's a huge amount of that sort of cryptological, signal intelligence things where they're trying to constantly crack each other's codes and read their
Well,
transmissions and
yeah, yes,
stuff like that.
yes, to a degree. They might try to sneak in a stealth ship or something like that. To try to pick up some things or things, whatever. But one of the funny things is really communications has kind of taken a weird backstep in a way,
Okay.
because
All right.
you can't go out and be on one planet and pick up the phone and call somebody in another solar system. Okay, it doesn't work
Okay.
that way. Contrary to, again, Star Trek or there's no instantaneous communication or whatever. So they actually have to. They have different ways that they work on that. There are hyperspace capable communications torpedoes, kind of,
Hmm.
that they can put information in or whatever and send it off to the deal, and it can get there a lot quicker than a normal ship or whatever, because it can stay in hyperspace the whole way, as opposed to like a ship with people on it or something like that. Because of hyper disparity, they can only make smaller jumps and then have to wait and go in, because there's no human beings, no individual life forms on these torpedoes, for a better name. We'll probably have something better for it down the road, but they can literally hyperspace that torpedo to another system or whatever, and it get there relatively quickly, depending on how far it is and whatnot. But then also a lot of the information is transmitted between ships. A ship that's, especially the merchant ships or whatever, It's almost kind of like the way the airlines do for the post office. Is they have deals, and it's kind of a common thing that if you're in system A and you're getting ready to go to this next system or whatever, they give you data packs, to take with you to when you get to that next system to pass that on or whatever. So that's how messages and communications and stuff can be pushed through that. So there, it's very hard to intercept communications outside of an individual system. Like I said, you could have a stealth ship in a system and try to intercept things that are being passed between ships or whatever, but the system's very hard to cheat because, like I said, once, especially if they do it with with this hyperspace torpedo, they put that information on in their system. They hyperspace it out of there to the next system, and it drops, and there's no way to intercept it in between. So, you have so it's kind of a weird old style yet new style communication. So, kind of Pony Express almost.
Yeah. What I was going to say, it's kind of like the Pony Express. Yeah. So I think I heard you say several things. I just want to touch base and make sure that I clearly understood them. And I'll start with the last thing that caught my attention first. You said that there's no way to intercept these data torpedoes or drones or whatever they are while they're in hyperspace.
Correct.
So in hyperspace, two objects can't encounter each other. There's not some way to. And I'm just thinking of all the crazy science fiction stories I've ever read, and I know those don't apply here. I'm just pulling things out of the ether. I mean, there's no way to affect hyperspace from real space. You couldn't create some gigantic gravitational anomaly and suck somebody out of hyperspace.
I guess that you could. I mean, that's obviously something that's been done. It's been done in several different. I mean, it was done in the recent Star Wars movies. With the deal like that. At this point, there's not anything that they can do to create enough of a gravitational field, and the ability to be on the target that you would need to be, and the vastness of space that would be this little torpedo. You don't know when it started, where it started, how it started, what direction. And they would probably, by the same token, especially if it was something important enough, they probably wouldn't send it on a direct route. If they know, we've got to get this from A to D, or A to B, and we know that that's how important that is, and everybody knows that we're getting ready to do that, they may send it, A to C to D to E, and then back to B, So depending on the time or what they need or how they need to do it, that would be something that they would set up where it would actually make it in legs and come out of hyperspace and reorientate and go back into hyperspace. So the chances of you intercepting that would be inconceivable.
So again, I'm asking questions. I certainly don't remember your answers from previous conversations.
I don't either. So go ahead.
Hyperspace, we're working on that for you, John. We're working on that for you. You can't just enter hyperspace from anywhere, can you? Don't you have to use like naturally occurring jump points, or is it possible with the right technology to just slip into hyperspace from anywhere?
You can, as long as you're outside of a gravity well, you have the ability to go in. And you have the ability to generate a hyperspace bubble. You can go into hyperspace anywhere. Okay, you would think that if they have anti-grav, they can create gravity bubbles. Well, again, yes, I'm not saying that that's not something that they couldn't. I don't know if they could, in the scope of science or physics that I've sit down and thought about it, can they create enough of a gravity bubble to actually interfere in hyperspace? But again, the odds of you being in the right, I don't care if you can create a bubble that's 100,000 kilometers wide, still in the chance for you to be in the right place at the right time to intercept something in space. In space, 100,000 kilometers is like this, I mean, it would be like picking 1 millimeter out of an entire meter and know that you're centered on that millimeter and everybody else is too. So again, I'm not saying that the technology is not out there for them to be able to do that, but the odds of you being able to do it is inconceivable in my mind. And if it's important enough, like I said, they're not going to send it in a straight line.
So here's a thought I just had based on what you said. So I'm Almirathel's secret agent A, and I need to get a message to Almirathel's secret agent B, all right,
Right.
who's in a very distant place, right? I've got my torpedo, I got my data loaded. How does the guy on the other end doesn't know where to go pick this torpedo up at? We have to have some sort of prearranged drop points,
Well,
basically.
right,
So,
and that's and it wouldn't necessarily be. I wouldn't think that that the torpedoes to me are going to be more on a government level basis. All right, between military and stuff like that, secret agents or something like that that are trying to pass that information back to that deal. Again, like you said, there's going to be some kind of a drop system, or there's going to be
right.
some kind of a code system that they send, a letter to mama, but if you know the right what to look at or know that, hey, mama's letter is really, the secret plans on making, the secret recipe to the best Alfredo sauce or something. I don't know. So,
So
and
that
I'm sorry. I was just going to answer
no,
Tiger. Right. In the vastness of space, known routes is one thing. Again, a known route can be a starting point could be 500,000 kilometers. It's still, they know that there's a route, and the trade routes are established routes, because the more established a route can be, the longer a ship can stay in that route. Okay, because they have managed over however long to fine tune that trip, and the finer that you have that trip defined, the less disparity that you deal with. So that's the reason why it's the shorter trips are, if you're just in the middle of nowhere and you go, oh, I need to jump out of here, and you do your little mumbo jumbo and figure it out, that route is a lot shorter that you can take, because you're the first one taking it. Okay, so you're the one you're trying to figure. So it's not dialed in nearly as a trade route that 100,000 ships have been over the last 5 years, and they exchange that information between merchants and stuff, because the better that they can get that route, the longer that they can stay in hyperspace. But again, that hyperspace corridor could be who knows how wide, that they're actually traveling through. It may not always be the exact one, or one guy's got figured out something to cut off a day or something like that, and doesn't want to give it to anybody else. So I mean, there's lots of things in there that's even more of a detriment to being able to detect something.
so to me, it all rolls back to like World War I, World War II, and even earlier technologies.
Yeah.
Where, all right, so whatever you want to call me, I'm some individual, some entity that needs to communicate some secret to another entity,
Right.
right? And so my enemies know that I'm going to be communicating with somebody, right?
Right.
So like if I'm a naval squadron, I'm communicating back to our naval base or my upper level command or something like that. And so the fact that the path between us is impossible to predict is cool, but it's really not the problem that I, as their enemy, need to solve. I know where the message is going.
Right.
I just need to arrange the situation at the arrival point so that I can get my hands on the information in some way, shape, or form. And that makes it kind of cloak and daggery and kind of old school, and gives us lots of real world examples to go back and
Right.
pick up and then move into the CAV universe as we tell stories about this kind of stuff.
Well,
I think it's great.
that's the reason I was talking about earlier is it's new tech, but old ways of using it. Okay, there is high tech and stuff like that. Here's a classic example. I mean, World War I, World War II stuff that you brought that up is, they have an agent in a certain spot or whatever, and they send a submarine, and they know that the agent already knows on the third Thursday at 11 p.m. this submarine is going to be 1 mile off the coast, and they go out there and Morse code it right quick, and the submarine copies the message and goes back underwater and takes it back to the base. And that's something that you would see too, is, especially with a covert ops squad or something like that. Once you're in a solar system, you can use a laser communicator or something like that and be able to, in a reasonable amount of time, to have a communication or send something out, But trying to go from solar system to solar system would be nuts. And that would be, a guy or a covert squad that was on a particular world that had the kind of transmitter that it would need or whatever. Again, they know that there's going to be a ship on this certain date at this certain time in this area, and that they transmit that signal out on there. And again, if you are not aware of that, or you're not right on target, you would have no way of intercepting that, because, like I said, if it's on a laser, a straight line to line, if you don't get to listen in, you can't hear a laser. You have to actually be in that path. Now, if you're got something out there that can get in the way of that laser, then yes, you would be able to read that or whatever. But as far as again, it's direct line of sight, kind of. I mean, you obviously can't see each other, but you're sending it from a known point to a known point. And if you're not in between or know that it's going, you'd never even know that it was ever done. So
that being said, so like the enemy of this communication that you're describing, they have all the same limitations and all the same problems, and so that's how they do things too, right?
Right.
Their agents in distant A and E's or wherever are waiting offshore for that laser beam to come in, so they know how this stuff works, and so they can patrol that area, look out for that, whatever the method of attacking that problem or that communication is. They know how to do it because they are themselves using that method and defending against that method. So that's where I think there's just a ton of really cool cloak and dagger scenarios that you can craft in a story or just a piece of fluff or whatever. John, this is really cool. I think there's a lot of potential here.
Well, and that kind of goes back to, I mean, that's my philosophy about the game universe and everything like that is, I mean, obviously sometimes we have to jump off the deep end to make things work, and come up with this pseudo science that we have to do. But by the same token, I try to give a lot of thought into, how even as high tech as you are, you're still limited by the laws of physics. Now, that's not to say down the road that they won't come up with tachyon fields or something like that can instantaneous transmitters or whatever. But at least in my game universe, they don't have anything like that. So
that they're telling us. You never know. Those sneaky A and E's.
Yes.
You never know.
Yes. I mean, that could be that could be a whole scenario adventure pack. Is somebody's developed a new way to communicate and what it'll do to the universe if that all gets out. So
it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
At some point in time, we need to talk about. I want to talk about a particular measurement, a question, and you may have answered this already, and I've just forgotten the answer. But to get a sense of the scale of CAV space and the rapidity, the speed at which you can exchange information. If Almirathil, the planet, were to blow up, like just go Krypton with Superman as a baby and just cease to exist, how long before the Adenese find out, before word of that gets back to the Adon capital? How long does that take?
If it was a matter of, if it just happened in around probably 500 years.
So, I mean, if there was a Adenese ship nearby,
well, that would be something different. Yeah, but I'm just saying from the zone of if you're on sitting on the Adenese capital world. Right. And Amethyl blows up and there's nothing in between to tell you that it's blown up, or anybody comes and tells you, you wouldn't know for about 500 years.
So you're saying they're 500 light years
Yeah,
apart.
I think that the star map I think is around a 500 light year radius. So
Okay.
Amethryl's kind of on the on the getting close to that edge. So just roundabout number. But yeah, again,
So
and that's a way of kind of going back in time.
mhm.
There's ways of getting in the certain times, and that kind of works into the communications and stuff like that too. But being able to see a space battle or something, you would probably have the ability to get to a certain point from something that's happened or that was broadcast or whatever. And even though it happened a year ago, if you go out a year from that point in light space, or the distance that that year would go, you would actually be able to see that event. So
Hmm.
it's just like us here, seeing supernovas and stuff that happened 800 years ago. You know, it's still
Hey,
out
Colonel
there.
King.
So
So to me, that's first of all fascinating information. Now, the corollary to that question: if an Adenese ship with a message torpedo was sitting there watching it happen and ready to launch immediately, how long till Adon finds out?
well,
That's really.
that's
Go ahead.
that is something that is not defined yet.
Yeah,
It hasn't come up to the point where I haven't had to sit down and go, all right, how long you can stay in hyperspace. I mean, I have the broad deal, but as we go along in the RPG and other things and campaign stuff, those are going to have to be defined. I haven't defined those yet because I need to. I want to go because I mean, that's the reason why hyper disparity is in there. Okay. And it's the same reason why Battletech did it the way that they did with the jumps or whatever. Is you don't want a Star Trek type universe is no fun. All right. If I can get in my ship and fly 500 light years in 2 hours, that's boring. Okay. Now that's great, I guess, if in reality that you needed to get 500 light years in 2 hours. But for the sake of from game design and the universe creation, that is very, very boring. So you want to have the ability for time to spread out. Okay. And that's kind of how I do it with Disparity. That's how Battletech did it with recharging their batteries before they could, they can only jump like 20 or 30 light years at a time, and then they had to recharge their batteries and make the next jump. All right. So that makes that trip, that 500 light year trip maybe take 2 months, 3 months. And that's what just makes it fun. It makes it a better deal because, again, if you could fly 500 light years in 2 hours, and everybody on Earth wakes up one morning and said, "Hey, let's go kick the shit out of Adenese and take over their capital world." Who cares about everything in between? We'll just take the fleet. We'll start out here in 2 hours. We'll be at Adenese and we'll invade. Okay, and that's while that may be more accurate, that's very boring. Not a lot of fun, I don't think. So
I think tell stories in either version of that travel thing. But you're right; they're very different kinds of
yeah, you
stories.
can definitely tell the story, but I'm just saying if you look at it from a reality sense, it's like the whole if you've ever seen any deals, is why in Lord of the Rings, why didn't Gandalf have an eagle come and pick up the ring and drop it in the volcano? Hey, call it a done deal. Because it's
Maybe
boring.
because
I mean, in
yeah,
reality, that's the way it would probably have went. I mean, if you really needed to save the whole deal, that's what he would do. Hey, moth, go find me an eagle. Let's go get rid of this ring right quick. We'll be done back in time for a beer. At dinner. So that's where that goes. And if you have to look at it from in that universe, if you have the ability to jump anywhere at any point at any time, everything in between doesn't matter because you just go from one capital to the neck. You take out their capital, and hey, they're done deals. So
See, in that universe,
yeah,
like the basis is different. The capitals are all heavily defended
yeah,
because everybody knows that an enemy fleet could jump in at any time,
right,
and so that changes the way space exploration happens, and what makes races very defensive and turtly. And you're right,
yeah,
it's a different kind of story, but you
yeah.
could tell a story in that universe. And the reason the eagle didn't take the ring is because the ring would just corrupt the eagle, would fly off and become the Lord Eagle of the ring. Come on, the ring is way more powerful than those eagles.
Whatever. They just put a string around it and tie it around a finger. Hey, cut this loose.
Doesn't work that
Well,
way.
I have to say again, you have to change it for your story. So,
Yeah,
all
you're
right,
right.
Colonel K, and you're right as far as you can make it work in that particular story. I'm just real big on any kind of space that limits you
No,
to a deal. Either it's through through wormholes. I read a book series where you had flight paths through dark matter, and that was the only way the paths that you could take. That was a really cool system. So, all right, Colonel Kane, I just wanted you to know to get your package. See, I told you you'd get it sooner than what they were telling you. I like the idea of jump gates, wormholes. Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on how it deals. All right, question. The Rock know the Adenese are helping the Terrans, correct? To what degree do they know this, and how did they come upon this knowledge? To what degree are they not helping the Terrans? Mentors are just convenient buffer between them and the Rock, since of morality preserve the Terran race. Okay. Yes, no, yes, yes, no. Yeah. Did you catch that? All right. Yes, the Rock. Well, the Adenese are not helping the Terrans. Okay, not anymore. Not to a degree. I mean, they stepped in to keep the Rock from destroying the Terrans. Okay, because of their morality level, overseers of the galaxy, whatever, and they really jumped in. At this point, Terrans can take care of themselves, and the Adenese know that, so they're not nearly the protector or the helper that they were at the time that they saved them. So, but where the Adenese, I guess, are still helping the Terrans and the galaxy as a whole, is they don't want the Rock to turn, the Rock or whoever to just turn loose and tear everybody up or destroy anything. So that the Adenese are that buffer there. So as long as that buffer's there and the Rock respect that buffer, the Rock are not going to go all out and try to take out the Terrans or whoever. You lose that buffer, voila, who knows what might happen. So more of a convenient buffer between them and the Rock. So so that's really it is. And yeah, the Adenese have always seen themselves as kind of the, they went down that route. They probably came as close to, I don't know, the Terrans came pretty close, but the Adenese came pretty close too, doing it to themselves. And so they've always kind of, what can we do to keep somebody else from doing that? But at some point, it always falls apart at some point. So, cash and carry as a world. Again, like I said, the Adenese came in and they did just enough to by the same token, they didn't they didn't walk in and give the Terrans the keys to the castle. They gave them enough to help themselves and stuff like that. Obviously when they sent in, factory ships, that help them generate, build ships on a faster basis that were not quality ships, but again, enough of them that that they were able to make a point. Because obviously you're not dealing with an overall super quality with Rock ships. So if you can get on an equal basis with them, and then quantity has a quality in and of itself. So and that's really kind of got them out of the place that they were, and the Adenese let the Rock know, hey, we're not going to let this happen again. So if you want to, if you think you're going to go in and firebomb the Terrans out of existence or whatever, you might do it. You might get away with it. But we're here to tell you right now that you'll never find another rock by the time we're done. So, and apparently the rock take them serious. So.
Yeah, I'm especially looking forward to the rock background book, because just with their super aggressive mentality and the way they have to interact with the A and E's, it makes I'm very curious to see what they what role the A and E's fill in their life. How are they thought about? How are they written about? That kind of stuff.
There's lots of stuff going. There's lots of stuff that I have an overall picture that obviously I've got to go in and fine tune it and tweak it and get it where it needs to be. But I have an overall vision of everything, so we go there. Before we run out of time, because I know we've got new people that's coming in, if you've already got your order and you were just short the terrain bases, there were some orders that we sent out with the swag bags that we didn't have the terrain bases in them because we didn't have enough cut before the laser went tits up. Those will all get sent out tomorrow. They're already packaged and ready to go. So if you're just missing your terrain bases out of your order, be on the lookout for those because those are all going out tomorrow. Badgers are going to start shipping on Friday. They're going out in the order that they were ordered. So we'll start sending those out in batches. I think right now our plan is every 2 days will be another batch that we'll send out. So there'll be a bunch of them going out this Friday. So what we already had made and what we've made since yesterday. So and between now and Friday. So there should be lots of drop ships coming out on people at the first of next week. So be ready for that.
Excited.
Yeah. And I will have, it may be that you will get your drop ship before the instructions are done. So hang in there. My plan is to start on those tomorrow night. I'm taking one of the ships and putting it together step by step, and we'll have that together as a PDF. And then I'm also going to videotape it as I do it. And then I'll edit that down so that you're not actually spending the hours watching it to figure out how to put that part together in case you need an idea. The good thing, probably 60% of the ship is self-explanatory. You just look at it and you know that piece goes there, okay? Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of it is symmetrical. So once I show you how to do this part on this side, you just repeat it and do it on the other side. Yes, so that side of it is... but if you get it and you jump into it, the main thing is you have to build the body first and then add the parts, the four corners onto it, and then landing gear and whatnot. The other thing is always kind of dry fit it before you glue it and stuff like that, because there's a couple of, especially when you're putting the pods on from each corner or whatever, that if you try to put one on before you do the other one, that when you put the third one, the pins won't go in because you have to have a pin that goes in and a pin that goes down. And because of the piece that gets in the way, you can't do both. So you have to do it in a certain order so that the pins all go, so you don't get yourself where you can't push and push down at the same time, because with the pins, everything's got to be going the same direction. So it'll make sense. You'll figure it out. But I'll get those put together. I'm gonna start on them tomorrow night. So. All right. Anything else, James? We're already at 9 o'clock. We killed 35 minutes. Wow.
John, CAV background is the number one thing people want to hear. So anytime you want to get on and talk about that, we are ready to listen.
Okay.
The rest of the schedule for the week, you remember it?
Is it already the third Thursday? Was this? I guess this is a weird month, huh? Because I guess we have a Thursday start right at the very first.
Started on a Thursday.
Yeah. So we're already at the third Thursday. So Big Stompy podcast is tomorrow night with Ross and James. Yeah.
And probably Matt and Hugh, Todd and Hugh. I thinking of somebody else for a second. Todd Masterguns and Hugh Tiger Wraith and Ross and I, I think we're going to be talking about the CAV battle that Todd and Hugh played at CAVCon. We're going to break it down for you, get inside the players' heads, talk about, do some really deep diving of how that battle went, how it could have changed, what maybe people should have done differently. Kind of let Todd and Ross and Hugh just share all that wealth of tactical CAV knowledge they have with you. So come and join us, have fun, get back.
So that'll be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel. Saturday, I think Chris will be back. I know
so.
He's been ill, and he told me yesterday he was feeling better, but that his throat was still pretty scratchy. So, but hopefully by Saturday he'll be good to go. Then again, Monday night is James with Monday Miniatures. Tuesday is I've kind of moved towards Tabletop Tuesday, so it's not always just terrain. It's just kind of whatever I want to talk about, hobby-wise, gaming-wise. Who knows what I might talk about. And then we'll be back again next Wednesday. So, okay.
Colonel Kane, while you're at paint night tomorrow, just turn on the show and listen. I'll be there in spirit.
Maybe. You hope. I hope you're not really there in spirit, because that would be bad.
My spirit is very powerful, John.
I know, but you might be dead, is what I'm saying. If we saw your spirit because you were dead, that would be bad. I would be sad.
John, I still have models to paint. I'm immortal.
That's what I tell my wife. I said the reason why I never get anything done is the minute I do is I'm dead. I'm out of here. I'm checking out. So, right. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it as always that you're here and your support, and we're trying to get everything done and going, and we'll get there. Just keep trudging through the snow with us. Dun, dun, dun. So anyway, all right. Well, good night, everybody. Say good night, James.
Good night, everybody.
All right. We'll see you later. Take care.